Welcome to Let's Play Rule the Waves 3 as Germany, starting in 1935. We've got rid of 1935 and we're about to enter 36, of course, where we can let caution to the wind. Our dependency on Japan that's been iffy about our relations together is going to be released in 2 months' time. And so I am going to be able to put my foot on the accelerator, or the gas, if you're American, and let rip a little bit and not be so constrained by the tensions that are around. Last episode was really interesting for a number of very thoughtful discussions that came up, but one I just want to acknowledge before we get into the play is around the design of torpedo bombers. I think this is a classic of how you, and when I say you, I mean me, can get a sort of fixed idea about how things work. So with torpedo bombers, I just assumed you didn't have to worry about the bomb load because it carried a torpedo, and all the other things were irrelevant because it's a sort of plodding torpedo, and that therefore reliability was probably the most important characteristic, certainly in the early years. By the 1940s, you might elevate that into toughness, but reliability, because if the planes don't show up, they're not going to do anything. And so in my mind, it's always been a choice between these two factors. But actually, there was a fascinating discussion about what all the other factors might contribute to torpedo bombing design, and indeed more widely to any aircraft design. So first of all, you could choose range and then range again. That slightly blew my mind, which may give you a longer range than you would normally have. I don't think this is a worry for my torpedo bombers, but I'd love to try this on my float planes and see if it makes any difference, because range is one of the most constrained features on float planes for scouting. You could put the bomb load down, and that may give you torpedo range into medium range, so effectively improving your strike range. And if you go heavy, you get two torpedoes. I mean, that would be amazing. You could put speed down, which would improve your survivability and also would reduce the time to target. So that sort of circle between spotting an enemy, preparing the strike force, getting launched and formed, having it actually reach the target, and then, of course, coming back to land and then be prepared for its next strike. The actual traveling to and fro is a substantial amount of time, so using speed to cut that down could be a significant tactical advantage. Finally, and this is something I did do, if you don't put your torpedo bombers on your land-based air bases, do, at least until medium bombers are able to carry torpedoes, which they're not currently, but will be able to do so soonish. So thanks specifically to these chaps for that fascinating discussion, and indeed to all of you who contribute comments to these videos. It really, really makes a lovely difference for me. Right, let's get to the game itself. Let's zoom in. Key features to remind you are we are about to enter 36. Our budget is 263. Cross fingers, that shoots up a lot. Most of our active fleet are deployed to the Baltic, or at least a fair number. We have 2 months to go with the Graf Spee. We have 31 with the Graf Stauffenberg. One last minesweeping corvette to do. Probably should do another set of 10 of these in order to deal with the whole mine warfare capability in the area overview. So yeah, Northern Europe, 185, and the Baltic 218 mine laying capacity. I'm not sure why it's not showing minesweeping. I haven't tragically introduced these and forgotten actually to put yes, they are set to minesweepers, so yeah, not sure why that's not showing up. Anyhow, let's press the big button, and new crew training applied. So we started off with damage control, which I think is the new doctrine available under Rule of Waves 3, and I think it's incredibly important. There's a Royal Navy dictum, float, sail, crew, fight, or something like that. But, staying afloat is definitely a popular thing to do new docks completed, so that's great. That'll take it up to about 48, I think. Now, one of our shipyards is short of orders and would like to build another Graf Stauffenberg. Now, that's interesting. It'll take a month less, so that's 6,000 less, and then it'll be a discount of 10%, which is probably worth about 15 or 20,000. So together, 20,000. It's a fair wad of money. I was vaguely thinking, what should I build next? If you remember back to episode 1, my original plan looked something like this. Zoom out and bring this to the front. So my plan was to finish the Graf Spee and then already start a second one. And when I finish the Graf Spee, and we are just at this point, to begin a third one, and then start it the beginning of next year on a Graf Zeppelin. And then by early spring of 39, we would have 3 battlecruisers or fast battleships and a carrier for the core of a well-balanced navy. And what I've been vaguely toying with my mind is, well, should I bring the Graf Zeppelin forward to this point, which would mean that we would get a carrier and a couple of battleships by early 1938, bring it forward a year. Now, this has somewhat changed my mind on that, because I'm being offered a 25,000 or so discount, which, you know, is a fair old chunk. So I'm going to say, yes, let's take the offer. I think we're going to go with Reichskraft to keep our Graf theme going for this class of ships. Imperial Count. So let's OK that. Boom times, yes. Tempting, given we've just saddled ourselves with a massive commitment, because one of the things I definitely was thinking, had not that offer to build a new battlecruiser on the cheap occurred, was to allow this monthly balance. I know it's minus, but it's soon going to go positive, to build up, to give ourselves a bit of a cushion. So it's very tempting to just use it to strengthen the Navy and get a lift in budget. The smart move is to use it to build up the national infrastructure of your country, and that will give you more money every single year rather than in one thing. So we're going to go with this one. There's no point in modest social programs because our unrest level is 0. Let's do that. And our new fighter is ready for service. I'll look at the fighters in a moment. A lot happening in this month. So let's look at the aircraft types. Let's bring that in here. I'm going to sort by role. And as you can see, I've got several going on. So I'm going to take this 1933 fighter and make that obsolete. And this naval patrol craft, probably make that obsolete as well. And we also have an old float plane, so let's get rid of that too. Okay. So that's where we are. Of course, it's completely blown our budget, but we only have a month left of the Graf Spee, so we'll only have to halt it for 1 month. And let's do that one. Made ill-considered statements. We know nothing about him other than he's captain of the Prince Eugen. So we're not going to use our influence, because that would cost a prestige, and when you have 20, once war starts, that will soon build up. So farewell, Captain, and your foolish words. So research going well on a number of areas. Unexpected problems for our new naval patrol aircraft. Ho-hum. So yeah, nothing particularly interesting in the news. More leakiness from our industry. Shame. Let's close that. We will have to halt. Oh, interesting. Although we started the Graf Stauffenberg several months earlier, it's actually now at exactly the same time. But let us halt construction for 1 month whilst the Graf Spee enters service and our dependency on Japan ends. Found the ship has trouble reaching its design speed. Now, that's unusual for Germany. France, you get that all the time. So that's very annoying. So let's go see what that does. So it actually only has a speed of 30 knots. It should have been 31, but you know, actually, that's fine because our 2 other battlecruisers only have 30 knots as well. So actually, that just makes the force more homogeneous. Let's take the halt off. Whoops. Let's take the halt off there. So a small balance. We have these ships working up. And in reserve, let's go to the area view. Yeah. Oh, so now they're showing minesweeping. So it may have been that because these ships were working up rather as part of the active fleet, they weren't showing up. So let me just. It's interesting that when you're working up, you aren't actually combat effective at all. So I'm going to take those. And I'm going to move them, nope, not to mothballs. I'm going to move them to the Baltic. And there they go. My increase in budget was only modest. And then there's the others. And I will keep them into in the North Sea whilst things settle down. So, colonial crisis with the Soviet Union. What are our recommendations? So it's pretty tempting to go, yeah, the Soviet Union, they're pretty rubbish. But if we have a little look at the almanac, you know, we have 1 battlecruiser in service. They have 6 battleships in service. Now, if we have a little look at that 6, they are all slow. That's the heavy cruiser. Yeah, so they've got a couple of 25 knotters. So we can always retreat if we have to, and their gunnery is all 13-inch. Yeah, I mean, it's a perfectly serviceable, straightforward fleet, reasonably homogeneous, but nothing to go, actually, we couldn't possibly touch them. So we are certainly not going to do, we're not ready for war, because that would knacker our prestige, plus budget, plus tension. It'd be best to avoid right now, but prepare for future conflicts. That seems a reasonable choice. And then double tension, prestige, and budget, safeguarding. So I'm going to go for the modest option. Still building up the tension. Nice to have a research breakthrough. Torpedoes is always fun. So yeah, that takes our tensions to 8. Let's have a look at all relationships. Let's just bring that here and show the values. So I'm interested in who the Soviet Union is friends with. So they're not friends with us. They're not friends with America. They're not friends with Japan. They are pretty friendly with Britain and France, which I have to say I don't really like. And if we have a look at who we are friends with, it seems to be the Italians. And, you know, honestly, I don't want an alliance with the Italians. Obviously, China and Spain are of no consequence whatsoever. So, yeah, slightly dodgy situation. Now, interestingly, because of the budget increases, we were at 263. We're now at 312. It's only April, so that's going well. And we have a 4,500 monthly budget. So as well as the carrier, I'm thinking, I've been playing around with this for ages off camera. I'm thinking of a seaplane carrier, possibly becoming a helicopter carrier in the future, just saying. And I've come up with the Roland here. So it's a speed of 30 knots. a little tiny bit of armoring around the magazines and the turrets and things, just so they don't explode. A little bit around the deck, which may or may not be really necessary. Torpedo defense 2, I'd like 3, but, you know. A set of, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 5-inch guns. Terrible quality, but that will improve soon. They are dual purpose, so we have dual purpose 5-inch guns now, which is great. So heavy anti-air of 18, medium of 10, light of 7. In the future, the fore and aft gun will probably be replaced by surface-to-air missiles, and possibly some of these wing guns might be replaced by a second centerline surface-to-air missile thing. I think at the beginning you can only have 2 surface-to-air missiles, or you can have 3, but only 2 can fire at any one time. And there was some discussion whether having 3 would be better, because they do take a little while to reload, certainly for the first generation. For those of you who know your missiles, think of the Royal Navy's Sea Slug. So plenty of room for expansion. No other guns aside from the anti-air defense. I've given it a couple of torpedo tubes, partly so that I can see where the torpedo range, and, you know, certainly in the 30s and 40s, having a torpedo might come in handy. Their firing arcs are shockingly bad, and they might be replaced by torpedoes on deck, but the topside with all the aircraft stuff is, you know, quite well utilized. And with 8 scout planes, float planes, and yeah, this seems to be this seems to be a ship that could accompany the battle cruisers whilst the carriers were off keeping themselves safe, providing plenty of scouting ability with bonus anti-air facility. So this is one design option that could become a helicopter carrier, which I'm, you know, really quite interested in. It would cost just under 2,000 a month for 19 months. So I'm going to save this, I think. It's the same, you can't save a design as like a concept and then try another concept design. I say that because the alternative is to build a light carrier and have that sail with the battle fleet, loaded up primarily with cap, with fighters, maybe a small squadron of scout aircraft as well. It's going to take a couple of months. So 1,900 for that one. Let me just have a little play with a light carrier. Okay, for comparison, here's the Jade. My light carriers will be named after rivers, I think. So 14,000 tons, so quite a bit bigger, but only 300 a month more expensive, 21 months to build. So again, 30 knots, a little bit of a light armor scheme just to protect magazines and engines, 2 torpedo defense, a set of 5-inch dual purpose guns, they're doubled up in this case, and 30 aircraft, which, you know, is a good chunk of aircraft. Now, I could see the Rolands, the Seaplane tender, becoming a very helpful helicopter carrier and having that whole ASW thing in the future, whereas this, I think, is quite specific, and I doubt it will be a long-term ship, but in the short term, 30 aeroplanes, providing a nice heavy cap over the battle cruisers would be amazing, with a side squadron for doing scouting and, well, striking the enemy. Let's finish up on this. I've got slightly too many guns, but if I were to take off a couple of these midship turrets, it would send the heavy from this pretty good 36 down to about 26. So for 10% rate of fire impact, I'm fine with that. So let's go with that, and that's going to take a few months. So several choices. I've got a positive monthly balance, so that's nice. Obviously, I'll need to design an actual carrier, but just at the moment, a scout plane, a seaplane tender, a light carrier, a full carrier. Obviously, the full carrier is great, but that would have to be in a separate force, and it would leave us under-provisioned with our battle cruisers. Okay, that's enough dinking around with might be's. Let's go and have a look at what is certain. Threat from the Soviet Union is giving us more money. Well, that's very nice. Italians want to buy submarines, by all means. I don't want an alliance with them, but they can give us money and stuff. Some unexpected developments, which is great. 13-inch guns reach quality 0. Hooray! It's a real shame that you can't direct the gun research. I mean, I know the temptation would probably be for people to go, yes, 20-inch guns, we need them now, and put everything into that, and it would distort the game. But yeah, 13-inch guns, they've had their day. Let's just see if there's anything else particularly interesting there. Nope, that's all fine. And off into June. And so we have a Graf Spee. We better organize a division and reset the roles and stuff for the rest of the fleet. Portable pumps, heavier depth charges, that all looks good. Do I want to? Yes, I will. And Reval. So that's got some air units set to there. Nothing particularly interesting around that. Medium intelligence with the Soviet Union still isn't fully in place. So yeah, they are a tough nation to spy on. So do I want to build my seaplane carrier? So let's say not now, just at the moment, and give this some thought. So we have a modest funds at 22,000. We're at 26 months. Takes 24 for a fleet carrier, but we also actually need to design that now. So let's do that. I'll let you watch this one, because who doesn't love live? Right, so 30 knots is fine. Some light armoring, unit machinery is necessary. Torpedo defense should be 3, assuming torpedo defense is allowable. Yes, it is. Which is great. We haven't got level 4. No. So level 3 is the thing. We'll sort out the weight in a little bit. Now, I have to have these wretched 6-inch guns in casemates, which is very annoying. I will bring the rounds down to 100. Then these guns are all in singles. Do we save any weight if we put them into doubles? Not as such. Just auto place them. It's just a bit tidier. So heavy anti-air of only 26, which is not great. I can increase that, but it doesn't increase by much compared to the weight of the directors. Again, I'll sort out the top level stuff in a little while. Case-mated 6-inch guns as dual purpose? No, we're not doing that. The number of planes. So we are at, let's increase this to 70. I think 70 is a nice number. So yeah, we're significantly overweight at the moment. So planes, fine. We don't need any other stuff. That's fine. The guns we are lumbered with. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, I think it's 8's the requirement. Now, if I take this over 25,000, I believe, the requirement changes from 6-inch guns to 8-inch guns. So we want to avoid that if we can. Okay, let me check that. Ammo might be on the low side, but if we just go over 25,000, yes, it goes to 8-inch guns. So we'll keep it at 25,000. Oh, that's okay. Weight remaining is that. I'm going to keep the ammunition at the low side because I should not be engaging in any kind of combat. Just toying whether to increase the number of 4-inch dual purposes. If I take them up to 20, I will get this 10% penalty, but more importantly, I'll be overweight. So it's tempting. It takes it up to 40, but a 10% penalty presumably brings that down to 36. Whereas if I go back down to the original, it's 33. So, I mean, tempting, but actually having a little bit of weight remaining for new stuff is very sensible. So I'm pretty happy with that. 70 aircraft, nice number. Wretched 6-inch guns, but at least it's not 8-inch guns. So let's go with that. 3,000 a month for 25 months. Okay, so this will come just a little bit after the battle cruisers are ready, but that will be fine. About 5 months afterwards, I'd guess. So yeah, that's a lot of stuff going. I could get going with the Jade or with the Roland, but for now, let's just see how that goes and see how much money we've got. So, new torpedo bomber. Hooray, let's see what's good. So they're all pretty comparable in terms of range, slight advantage for the Focke-Wulf 101. We'll go with that. Seems fine. A lot of, okay, this is all of our new airplanes coming in. How long that will be, I'm not sure. The Führer wants to look at the details of our design study photograph Seaplane. Say no to the great leader and it will cost you a prestige, so let's delay it by a month. Ho-hum. I'm going to say not now, but actually I might. You know, actually, what I'm going to do is I'll put it to the vote. I kind of know which way it's going to go, but do you want to invest in the Roland, which is a long-term build that should provide us with a helpful scouting ship at the moment, and also become a helicopter carrier in the future? Or do you want to go for the more immediately useful but short-term light carrier that in 15 years or so won't be able to equip and fly jets and some of the heavier aircraft? At least I don't believe so. That's the choice for you. I'll put a poll into the community pages of the channel. I'll be fascinated to see what you think. Thanks for watching this episode. I'll see you in episode 6, where we'll finish off 1936 and its really interesting levels of shaping out the core of this whole new Navy. Thanks for watching.